Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil Amuti, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy! Hey, Great Girlfriends, happy Wednesday, and I hope you are enjoying magnificent weather no matter where you are, even though I just got off the phone with a friend in New York who said it was 48 degrees this morning. I cried for her because that's inappropriate. That's like, what? That's out of order. But anyway, I hope that you're enjoying a marvelous day. I am and have been. So much has gone on. Since I've been back from the Tom Joyner cruise, which was a lot of things, as I was telling my friend here, Sasha. Kendrick and Drake, yes. I don't even know what to say. I'm like...
I'm happy.
Are you happy?
I'm happy. I am a avid hip hop head.
Yes,
so my background's in music.
I actually
have worked with both of them.
Okay.
In some capacity with booking and like live events.
Okay.
And so I am like.
Are you happy about the conversations being like the scope of it? Or are you happy about how they're treating each other? Like,
of course. We want all of our people to get along.
But that's not
but it's really good for hip hop. Just, the overall culture, I think, is like tuned in.
Yeah.
And I mean, hip hop is being played in places that usually would not access it.
True.
Also being an LA girl, right? It's been like, you just kind of go down the streets and you hear the music pumping. No matter where we're at, know, and so it's a lot of like unity in it.
Yeah.
I think Drake will survive this.
Of
but
course.
It's, like he's,
Well, okay, so that's the thing. But this is my fear though, Sasha, because I'm like, all right, Drake. Okay, Kendrick, the city. He's got the city on lock, and you don't want to have the city responding.
100%.
You don't want people getting active in their own way.
No, 100%.
Soldiers.
Well, so Drake doesn't live here anymore, so I'm not as concerned.
He's in Calabasas.
No, he's not in Calabasas anymore. So that's
that's better.
Yes, even though there has been some allegations of like someone there's a rumor that they found the mole because there was like a shooting at his house in Toronto.
I heard about that.
I was like,
that was the other thing. I came back. I was like, I can't even go on a cruise.
You can't leave
because look what happens.
Yes. So for the entertainment of it, I've been completely tuned in, sharing songs and it's just been happening back to back. No pun intended. So it's been
because I was behind and I still am. I think a few tracks behind.
Okay.
You don't want to battle Duckworth. How do you dare do that? I just don't feel like that's even, and he knows that, and that's why
everybody
he's
knows.
Laying him down.
Yes,
sit down,
have a seat. Yes.
Why are
be
you
humble.
trying to be
sit
humble?
down?
Sit down.
Yes,
be humble. It's so
100%,
much, and
100%.
I've just been trying to take in. I don't have any feeling about them beefing. I think it's actually, for me, I think thought leaders deserve to have dialogue.
100%.
If we do it in politics, we can do it in music.
100%.
We can do it wherever. So I'm okay with debate. I like that the debate has been on track, put it on a track.
Yes.
And I love that it brings the art to life.
100%.
Right? That for me has been beautiful to see. I am like, there's the petty line. I'm like, okay, wait. All I saw was pedophilia. I didn't Google anymore. I was like, I cannot, because if I do, my whole phone's gonna be jacked up with all this kind of different articles that I don't want.
Yes, no, 100%. It's been a lot,
and I was like, oh, girl,
it's been a lot, and it's so funny, working in the industry. Yeah. A lot of what they were saying was kind of in the average listener, most people are like, wait, what does that mean? Who are these people?
Yeah.
But kind of knowing who some of them are, even with Drake in the original track or his original response to not being, it's just Big Me.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, he's talking about this person, and one of the managers I'm not a fan of. So I was just like, yeah, Drake.
Put it out there.
And then boom, Kendrick just kind of came with it.
Yeah. It's just
K-Dot's back.
It's been, listen, I'm telling you, I literally landed, body was still floating, sat down,
yes.
and I turned on something, and I was like, okay, wait. First of all, it's just a lot. There's a lot of hot things going on right
Absolutely.
now. CNN was flooded with the Trump trial. I don't even like saying his name,
yes.
but I'm like,
yes.
let Stormy tell her whole story. Don't try to mute any of her story.
100%.
Let the details live.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say about that. Kendrick, Drake, hopefully they can get to a table one day and have chicken.
They're-
And we can all laugh.
They're,
And they
they're
can do a
trying
tour.
to they're trying to make it.
Do a
So,
tour.
I
Put it on a
mean,
tour.
listen, I'm an old school Gemini in my K-Dot voice. So like the level of petty that he's at, we'll see. We're gonna see.
Yeah, I'm like something. Figure out because
Let's
listen, why
heal.
not capitalize off of all of that? Bring the whole art. Get a cipher together.
Yeah.
Let's do a public
Let's
cipher.
do-
Let's just
yes,
have a live.
I like
cipher,
that.
And they can just.
I like
battle.
that.
And
we should really
and
talk
we
to
can
Universal. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, because that would be beautiful for everyone.
Yeah,
that would put some of
absolutely.
the conversation at bay.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's been like a thuggish, ruggish week in my parenting world, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Man.
I'm getting hazed over and over again. I just want to say I love you to every single mama and daddy who's out there trying to do it for these kids.
Amen.
And you're doing a good job. No
Yes.
matter how you feel, no matter what the streets have to say. But it's a thuggish, ruggish week for me. I'm just being honest.
Easy.
Like I'm in the thick of tweenie and teeny. I have a
sorry.
12 and a 15.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on in
Yes.
my heart right now.
No, I understand. I understand. And young adulthood is on the horizon and like full teen. I wish I could tell you it's going to be easier.
Yeah, okay, so
But
no?
No,
Okay,
just,
honest, thank you.
Yes.
Like you just really laid that
It's
flat.
just, it's not going to be better for the foreseeable future. But eventually.
What day though? Like March what? May what?
So
September what? Does
I'm
it
almost
give
20
me
years
a
into
firm
parenting.
date? Okay.
And there's no end in sight for me. The requests are just larger, right? Like, so one foot in front of the other. That's the pace of this whole parenting thing. And we're going to get there, I believe.
I don't know. I've just been trying to preserve my edges. I've been trying to preserve, I'm trying to keep my skin clean and fresh. I'm trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to keep my heart and my mind aligned so that I don't get over, I don't know. I don't want to get, what's the word I'm trying to use? I don't want to be swallowed.
Yes.
by parenting.
It will take you out. So, you can't take them out. So we have to find balance. We have to make it make sense. So I incorporate a couple of routines that the kids kind of instinctively know at this point. Like that's mommy's time. Like don't bother her. So you have to just put up they're old enough.
They are.
You have to put up some hard walls.
They know. That 7 days on the cruise, I was like, so no phones, don't call us. Any emergency, everyone has your info.
I'll find out when I get home about your emergency.
We don't need to know. We don't need to know. I'm willing to risk not knowing
I'm leaving.
For 7
it's
days.
Fine.
I don't want to know, and I'm going to be okay.
No FaceTime?
Yeah. No, we FaceTime maybe once, twice.
Okay.
It was short.
Not throughout the day. Mom, I'm hungry.
They don't.
Mom,
do
where's
that.
my...
I travel a whole lot.
Okay.
So they don't. They
That's
have been
good.
trained since they were small
Look
to
at
kind
that.
of figure that out, right?
Yes.
It's just the thickness of it could be end of school year. It could just be, I don't know. I don't know what
You got the answer. This way we got the answer.
I don't know what it is. It's just a lot. It's so much.
No, I get it.
And people with toddlers, when they say stuff about parenting, I'm like, girl, boss, sit down. You
know nothing
you've not
about nothing.
experienced nothing until you called me when you got a 13, 14.
It's a special time.
Yeah. It's special. But that's not even what we came on to talk about today. Listen, and you're an expert at that too, actually, because when you say 20 years in, everyone who's looking at this video is going to go, what? How? Where? Who?
Yes.
Huh? So that in itself is its own story. But I had the privilege and pleasure of speaking at Black Women Invest. Shout out to Shello, who hosted her very first conference in Temecula a couple of weeks ago. Actually, maybe a month ago now. My God, it's been a month since I met you, girl.
Been a month? Okay.
It's our anniversary.
We're happy.
So I had that pleasure. And my mom and I came in and we sat in a session and Sasha my mother is 80 years young.
Your mother is
she's a
dope.
trip.
Can we talk about
My mother is a whole show. She's a whole presentation in herself.
Yes.
So she was in there. We're taking ferocious notes. We were just capitalizing on all the information that you, Sasha, were bringing to the table because there are so many gaps that we didn't even realize we had in our family estate planning. And so estate planning is such a big term. And most of the time when people say estate planning, Sasha, they think of death. They're automatically
Yes.
like, when I die. And they think that it's like a million years away.
Yes.
That it's something that they don't even want to
Yes.
deal with, discuss. And so it goes on the back burner. And a lot of people will say, well, if my company doesn't offer some type of planning package, then I'm not going to do it. And then we have so many great girlfriends who are entrepreneurs who have exited corporate America and are packaging together their security plan for the future.
Yes, absolutely.
So, you know, Sasha was a brilliant and masterful expert at sharing all the tactical things that we great girlfriends, whether you got a penny in the bank or or you've got millions in the bank, the steps that we need to take to start building out really healthy estate plans that allow for us to preserve all of the work and the value that we've put in over all of these years so that our families can have a future and so that generational wealth can continue ultimately.
100%.
Yeah. So I thought it would be great for us to have this, what could be an uncomfortable conversation, to make it very comfortable, because Sasha's a great girlfriend. So she understands all the stickiness of life. She's also an entrepreneur. She's a mom. You know, she understands all the tactical things that we need to know. And she's a lawyer. Let me make sure I make that clear.
Yes.
So she understands the legality behind the experience as well. And she has worked inside and outside of the entertainment industry, multiple industries. So she knows some of the things that we're thinking, feeling, and experiencing while we're making these choices. So I want to introduce you to our great girlfriend, Sasha, who's here today to give us the 411 on estate planning and some of the things that we need to know. Absolutely. Sasha, thank you for coming on.
So excited to be here. Hey, girlfriend.
And she's a hip hop head too. Sasha, give us the I like the bio, but give us the story.
Okay.
Why is this important to you?
So I liked it. I haven't shared this, but it's really deeply rooted in my own probate family, breaking apart over stuff, stories. So, and I'll get to how I got to the law and more specifically this area of law, which is very nuanced. However, I did, my grandparents wanted to leave me their home off of Wilshire. And so there was a letter in the Bible, right? There was notes. The family knew the wishes. Yeah. However, my family found out real fast that a letter in the Bible, even a will signed, still requires probate court, right? And so many families, unless you've been through a probate story, and I have never heard of anyone with a good one. If any of your listeners can give me their best, we had a great probate story, like we should come up with a cash prize because it's not a thing, right? So my family went through it, and the devastation. Thank you, girl.
We got one fly here. Okay.
Yes.
She was like, hey.
Yes. So our family went through it, and not only I did not end up with a house, which perfectly fine. I'll get my own house or houses, right? But the devastation that it took on the family. There's relationships that have never been mended, and this was, over 20 years ago, essentially that this fell apart, and those relationships still haven't healed. So not only the ability to leverage financially and create and sustain and leverage generational wealth. A lot of us have access to it because we don't feel rich right now. We're not taking a lot of steps to ensure that maybe it's not us, maybe it's not our kids, but our grandkids. Everybody can be a homeowner. Everybody can go to college, right? Everyone can have access to revenue from investments and things like that. So there is a way to structure to not only create and leverage this wealth that we're talking about and that we're going to focus on heavily today, but also we have a duty to our families to take care of these things and make these decisions. It should not be our children or our grandchildren trying to figure out what things should look like when those relationships break and you're not there to, meditate and, mediate and kind of get everybody back together. You have, generations of families and cousins that don't know each other. There's so many people in my family that my kids don't know. If you sit them I grew up with these people, every holiday, and my kids don't know them. Why is that? Because we didn't do proper planning. So, personally, on a personal level, that invoked a lot of passion regarding what I'm doing right now. Going back to, again, you mentioned my background is in the music industry. I had a booking agency for almost a decade here in LA. In that capacity, I brought like talent to concerts, festivals, things like that. I still do it. I have a couple partners, and we kind of come in on more of an investment standpoint now. But coming back into, that area, after law school, I had a lot more information.
Right.
And, being a business owner as well, it was just like, I thought that a lot of the stuff that we're discussing, everybody knew.
Yeah.
And that can't be farther from the truth,
Yeah.
right? So
Oh
I ended up going on sabbatical and going to San Diego. I packed up my 3 kids. I was married at the time. And embarked on a law school journey, at 30, right?
Wow.
So that was rough.
Yeah.
I was competing with 22-year-olds whose, fathers are paying for everything, but I knew that I needed it for my business. We were paying obscene amounts in legal fees.
Wow.
We talked about,
Yes.
like the little call,
You're like, hurry up, this is quick. Don't charge me the whole
Yes.
hour.
Please, please don't. So we had a couple of incidents when we were working in the space, and I was just like, bite the bullet. And I'm a firm believer, listen to God. God said now, and I packed it up. It was like right now. And it was at the height of my career in the music industry. We were doing some incredible things, booking for, every artist really on the radio. Like it was, it was going really well, but it was like now. And so I answered that call and embarked on law school full time. Wow. Took the bar in California, passed on my first try. When we first went to law school, the baby was nursing.
Oh my
so that's
goodness.
how, inopportune that timing was.
Yes.
But my goal was never to practice law.
Wow.
I was just an agent. So it helped with the agency.
Absolutely.
Is how I was looking at it.
Yeah.
So again, fast forward, I ended up getting out of law school. I did found a law firm. The focus was on like trademarks and business law. Still not, thinking about estate planning or asset protection, which is technically what I do. So it's just like, And so I started having conversations with a lot of like my old associates. And now, mind you, when we think about entertainers, we think about money, right? We see the big houses, we see the fast cars, we see the, jewelry, we see, they dripping in finesse, it don't make no sense, right? Like that's what we think about.
See.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these people happen to be my friends or, like business associates. So, getting out of the music industry, but still kind of tapping back in with them from a more legal perspective and knowing what I knew now. I can't tell you, Sybil, how many times even in let's say the last year, I've been down, like if we say, okay, let's go grab lunch, right? And we're just having a nice little chat. Yeah. And I've had people literally pick up their phone and like either yell at, sometimes fire their management team, their agent, like people that are supposed to have their backs. Right. They find that these people are set up, but the talent and unfortunately many people of color and many women and, when you don't have access to the type of information that we're going to chat about today, you don't know that you don't have access to it. Right. But that doesn't mean that there's people around you who don't have access to it. So it's like, why are you not sharing any of this, right? So
it's so terrible.
It's heartbreaking, honestly. Like, the amount of taxes that these people were paying. And, I'm like, so, we're talking about a deal. Okay, well, like, what do you want? How do you want to be listed on maybe this joint venture, right? And it's like, oh, well, my name or, the one LLC that holds everything. And I'm like, wait, you don't have a holding company? Okay, well, how are you, do you have an offshore trust? What do you mean you have that much money like under the bed, right? Like it's like, wait, hold on, what's going on?
In the safe. It's
exactly.
Like,
no. So really just, and that's not even to mention, situations, and we've seen in the news a lot of, artists passing away, a lot of times too young, and even the people that are passing away, later in life, it's like, how do you not have a trust set up? How is your family going through, how is this the court of public opinion, out to play, right? Like, how do we, nobody told you? And, there's so many, common misconceptions. People think that a will is enough.
Yeah.
People think that like telling their loved ones what their wishes are is enough.
Yeah.
People think just having an insurance policy is enough. So it's just so many misconceptions, and really there's no one clearing any of them up. So
Oh my God.
that's how we got here.
So okay, because that's like I see the migration and I understand it, and I think what I realized when you're talking about it is that most of us have made those decisions emotional.
Yes.
Meaning, if I don't have a close relationship with my family,
Yep.
or some people don't feel their family deserves
Mhm.
to have
Mhm.
their assets,
Mhm.
they won't set up due process around these things, and they just let things fall where they may fall.
That's
right?
even worse.
Then you got people who literally, leave everything to the dog, or they leave it to a nonprofit, but they have something set up.
That you have to take steps to do that.
You know what I
If
mean?
you
So
don't
it's
want your
like,
family to get it,
yeah, I'd rather
you
not
really
my
need to take
cousin have
steps.
it, so the pool can have it.
Yes.
But at least, they set something up.
Something.
Something with the best interest. So I want to talk a little bit about assets, because I think it's
Yes.
important for us, specifically as we start talking about women, Black women who spend, I forgot how many trillion a year, that we're spending in the market on different
Yes.
things that are assets that we might not realize, because we always think about money. But, you think about your Chanel bag, you think about your earrings.
Absolutely. All that needs to
Yeah, all those
yes.
things need to be assigned.
100%.
Right? So
100%.
talk to me about, how you view assets and things that we might be missing that could be just considered as an asset.
I'm going to give you an example, and I don't think that this is exactly what you're asking for, but this is how deep it goes.
Okay.
Right? Let's say you are a girlfriend and you're like, Liz, I'm not, I barely like this job. I don't really have, much family. I'm not going to focus too much on just, not everybody wants to be extremely wealthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The work that it takes to obtain wealth a lot of times is hard to stomach, and you're
Yeah.
giving up a lot. You're giving up time with family. You're giving up, so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people who are making that decision. Like, I just don't want to work that hard. I want to live a nice, comfortable life.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm when I say I'm on board with that,
Yeah.
I am completely on board. I
Yeah.
understand. But even if that person were to say, okay, I'm not going to, put in all this overtime to just obtain a whole bunch of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they can set up a life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Put that life insurance policy in a trust with instructions. Number one, don't give anything to my family immediately. Invest that insurance policy, right? Invest it, reinvest it, reinvest it, reinvest it.
Yeah.
And, 2 generations from now, everyone in my lineage
We'll have
can be a
something.
homeowner,
Yes.
right? Everyone in my
Yeah.
lineage can start a business.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
even if, and same thing with moms, right? I work with a lot of moms and a lot of, parents, and there's so many single mothers who are like, I don't know, like I'm barely making ends meet, right? Like I'm almost right out of, paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in those instances, I'm like, girl, just set up a life insurance policy.
Mhm.
You're probably paying maybe $150 a month.
Yeah.
And, take that, budget that, and you can make sure that if anything happens to you, we have the trust set up where your kids are going to be okay,
Right.
not only through their childhoods, but at different ages and stages,
That's
right?
Yeah.
So,
Don't drop the whole check on them today.
no. They're going to join you in heaven.
Make it merit based.
They're going to join you in heaven.
That's good.
What? If I have a 19-year-old son. You think I'm
Yeah,
going to
don't
leave
drop it on
him?
them. Yeah. Like, here you go. Here's your whole check. No.
Come on.
No.
It's-
I know, and that's the thing that people may not understand. Great girlfriends that you probably want to consider, and even think about this, Sacha, because at one point in my life, I only had one policy. I think
Mhm.
now I don't know how many, maybe 5
Mhm,
different
mhm.
policies, because I realized that the more the merrier, one.
Yeah.
But 2, that I could set them up and distribute them according to the values, the things that we wanted.
Yes.
A scholarship
100%.
fund here, having some
100%.
things set up for great greats there. and things.
Yeah. Or if you have parents,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't want, maybe you don't want the house to be sold to take care of mom and dad,
Yeah.
but we can have a separate policy for mom and dad.
Yeah.
There's so many ways. There's so many
Yeah.
tools, girl. Like,
So, okay, so that's good, because that sounds like a simple step one. Like, even
Yes.
if you're working at Wendy's,
no matter what you're doing,
or not working,
if you're unemployed, if you're a housewife, if you are a stay-at-home mom, if you are disabled, there's so many ways that you can still create real wealth for your families. Like real wealth.
Now, when you say set it up in a trust, can you break that down for the great girlfriend who's like, Sasha, like what? I heard that on Greenleaf, but
yes.
Tell me what that means, Sasha.
Okay. So in short, now there are different types of trust, right? So what we're talking about primarily right now are revocable trusts, right? So the revocable trust comes in, it's a declaration or an agreement, and it's essentially mostly between you, right? So we were setting up your trust. You are going to be the settler or the grantor, meaning it's your stuff. Again, even if it's just a Schedule A with that Chanel bag and your laptop and, your life insurance policy, right? You're going to be the grantor. It's your stuff. You're also likely for your lifetime or during, while you're still able-bodied, going to be your own trustee, meaning manager of said stuff, right? And then it's there to benefit you. So, you're going to act as a beneficiary. Now, of course, you're probably going to list your kids, maybe your spouse, loved ones with gifts, things like that if something were to happen to you. But all in all, it's an agreement that you're entering that creates a very clear plan, and I call it your rule book. So you're laying out what you want things to look like. We go through a host of if-then situations, right? If you were to pass away before your husband, what do you want it to look like? If your husband was to pass away before you, what does it look like? If your kids are 18, what does it look like? If they're 25, what does it look like? If they're 50, what does it look like? What does it look like if you have grandkids, right? What does it look like if you have a business, right? Do we need a succession plan? So we go through a host of scenarios and really kind of build a master plan that rules, right? So it allows you to still be in full control of what's happening, not only with your stuff, but with your legacy, right? You said, you want to have like a scholarship fund, you want to be able to do different things. So that lays the law down. If you only have a will, unfortunately, probate court is still mandated. Meaning that some judge is deciding on whether your will is even valid, let alone whether or not they're going to do what you said do in your will, right? So the trust is the only way that we avoid probate court completely. The way that we're able to do that is because you're listing successor trustees, whether that's your loved one, whether that's a board of trustees, or whether it's a company that we recommend to you, you're listing trustees. What that means is if you fall out on a Thursday night, by Friday morning, it's business as usual. Your trust outlives you, but your rules don't. You see what I'm saying? Good. So whatever you stated is still the law as it relates to you, as it relates to your stuff, as it relates to your assets, right? Which really can be anything. Investment accounts, items throughout your home, jewelry, your vehicle. Like I said, even money that's not technically yours, like a policy, right? Those types of things. Really, all of that can be vested within the trust. And then the trust kind of controls, number one, who gets something, if they get it, and rules to get it, right? If you have young children, maybe it's a drug test before they're able to inherit anything. Maybe they have to finish college. Maybe you want to put some parameters on who they get to marry or, you know, what families, get to kind of come in and benefit, right? So we can get as petty in my K-Dot voice as we need to. Or particular. I like petty better.
The Johnsons cannot. If my daughter marries a Johnson,
they get nothing.
They get nothing. Yeah, that's good.
And
I love it.
She said what she said. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Like in the trust,
it's
that's
there.
Final.
It's final.
It outlives her.
It outlives her. We never have to go into court. We never have to go into court.
Yeah.
And, we're having these conversations. Other families from other communities are setting up family banks, right? They're setting up generational trusts and all types of and we're just trying to get out of probate court.
Yes. Oh my God. Because you don't even have to get to probate court if you set this up.
Exactly.
So with the trust.
Then we can really have fun.
Yeah, then you can have fun.
My clients, literally, it's so funny when they get those like aha moments. Usually like the baseline is setting up a trust, right? Like don't pass go, don't collect $200. That needs to be set up first. Once we set that up, And then I start exposing them to all the loopholes and all the tax strategies and all of the like ways that they can like what money, right? Like that. And it's like magic. It's literally like it all clicks eventually.
So wait, so is a trust transferable across state? If we do a trust here in California, the law is applicable. Is it federally recognized? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
If something happens in Louisiana, it's all applicable.
You can, yes. So again, if you pass away without a trust, your family, let's say you own property in, DC, you own property in Mississippi, you own property in LA, you own where, out of the country.
Yeah.
Your family has to do probate in each of the states that you own property.
If you don't have a trust.
If you don't have a trust.
Wow.
So by having one, you're able to account for all of your businesses, all your business interests, all of your properties, any real estate, all of your bank accounts, like down to the penny. Like literally, if you have a penny jar on your counter, that can go into the trust. You see what I'm saying? So it's it captures everything that is you, and it manages what it looks like.
Okay, so great. So, and to understand this, to set up the trust, you need to have a qualified lawyer in place to set up. This is not like a rocket lawyer type situation. Yes, go there.
Yes. Because listen, we calling out names. Like,
I'm just saying, it's not like we're not going to go on like a random site.
No, stay off of LegalZoom. Stay off of Rocket Lawyer. Even with the pass, and it's like, oh, we'll hook you up with our lawyers. We have a team of lawyers.
I know what you're talking about.
With Legal Shield.
Yes, Legal Shield.
I'm calling out names.
Yeah.
Certain things, if you're trying to set up an LLC, okay, they're probably still gonna, like, down the line, you're probably gonna have to come see me or someone like me, but fine. Your trust, you don't know that you have it wrong until you're dead. So,
oh my God. Then your kids are like, Mom, why didn't you? Yeah, and it's all too late.
I can't tell you how many we fix. A paralegal should not be the one, and this is the thing, if money is tight and you're like, look, I can't find a lawyer within my budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Find an estate planning lawyer or a asset protection attorney. Find someone who knows what they're doing and just pay them, a nominal fee to review and let you know that you're okay.
If you've chosen to do it yourself, or you've chosen to go through one of the, and I'm personally, I would not allow anyone in my family, my friend group to do it. Just because I understand the complexities. And really, unless you work in the field, you're not going to understand the complexities. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, it's almost worse to have it poorly drafted, because then you're walking around life thinking that you're okay. Yeah.
And, you don't find out that you're not until it's literally too late. Definitely don't recommend it. And like I said, even if you have one drafted, like let's say you went, to someone who says that they know what they're doing with trust, right? And it's not a licensed attorney. And even attorneys, you want to find someone who works in this area. Okay. Right? I should be.
I was like, Sasha. Sometimes these lawyers be saying, but like, how do you, how do you know? So, and I'm hearing you say, look for someone specifically vested in the area of estate planning. Absolutely. Who's working in this and has a credible record.
A credible record. Yeah. They have other clients. They have
not other clients. Because they could not. That's so true.
I try to avoid, one thing that I've learned, and I used to pride myself on being able to do so much. Like, I just do this, I do that, and and it's like, if you are a jack of all trades, you've probably mastered none.
Right.
So even when we started working in the asset protection field, so asset protection, my focus isn't on the estate plan as much as estate planning is a tool in the overview work that I do, right? So many of my clients, they're looking to get assets out of their name. They're looking to lower their risk when it comes to being sued, right? A lot of business owners, a lot of doctors, other attorneys, right? Like, so I service entertainers, right? People that maybe have like an abundance of cash, and we don't need that abundance of cash because it's going to put a red dot on their back.
Right.
Real estate investors, we do a lot of, and that's where we ended up meeting a lot of real estate folks, or we set people up with real estate portfolios. So that is part of the services that we offer. So saying that to say, you want to make sure that your attorney is really thinking about your actual situation and your long-term needs, right? Like just having a trust, just to have a trust, especially if it's not set up long-term, or if it's just, you pass away and, immediately whatever child you have gets everything, right? Because you can't have a basic trust.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in your, 80s, 90s, and you have your child is in, their 50s and they're already kind of taking care of you, you just need a simple estate plan, right? You need to, give my kid everything. It's a grown person, they have grown children themselves. So, but if that's not your situation, then you want to make sure that you have someone who's thinking about your bigger picture, the full scope, your goals, kind of where you're headed. So we want to meet you where you're at, but you definitely want someone who's forecasting what it looks like from, all the different angles as well.
I can hear someone listening saying, I get it, I hear you, but I still don't know if I can afford to even think in this way. And I say this because a lot of times entrepreneurs will count ourselves out of the process. Girl. And then it's consequential because as the years progress and you're looking at things that you could have or should have would have set up at the most opportune time, you miss it. And so what would you say to the woman who is listening and thinking as an entrepreneur, yeah, right, when I get a chance? Like girl, adding this to her list later.
Girl, stop.
Yeah. Right, girl, stop. Yeah.
It needs to come. You should have, and again, we haven't talked about any of the other, so we're not talking about, irrevocable trust. We're not talking about, any of those tools. We're literally baseline, you need a revocable trust. Yeah. If you have a job, you need a revocable trust. If you don't have a job, there's no adult, even at 18 years old, there should be some documents. You probably don't need a full trust, but you should have a power of attorney. You should have a medical directive, for your parents. Yeah, right. That's good. So we need something. If you can't be walking around here just
without
out
anything. Okay, so you said at 18, because I'm thinking about children. Do children need trust? For example, if you have a child who has a business, should that child have a trust in place? So
we routinely do what we call family trusts. Okay. That kind of grab up, like for example, my kids' 529 accounts are in my trust. Got it. Right, it's for their benefit. Yep. But we want to kind of leave off the management. Now, if your children do have assets or they turn a certain age and you're giving them major assets, we can put loopholes and clauses within your trust that say what that looks like, right? That it needs to be rented out, that they have to maintain this type of GPA, so forth and so on. So I do recommend parents kind of keep control until your child is old enough to really kind of make decisions. Yes. So typically we'll kind of put the kids under the parents still. Even parents that have like special needs children, right? A lot of times they don't. That's another reason to call an actual lawyer, because we want to set up special needs trusts, right? Like our provisions that say that if something happens to you, they're not going to get kicked off of their medical insurance or lose the support that they might have through different programs. So I mean, it needs to be really focused on the individual and their situation. And there's not if you're a business owner, what's the succession plan? If, something happens to you, do you want the business to be sold? Do you want you want to bring in a manager or a COO and, have the business continue and maybe a portion of it, your owner's draw, goes to your family or goes into the trust to be, invested. And, so saying that to say, we want to really kind of focus on the individual, but no matter where you're situated, even if it's just power of attorney, even if it's just medical directive, even if it's a simple trust, you still should have something at every stage of life.
That's so interesting because I think Great Girlfriends was so super important is just how we're sitting here having this conversation in our friend circles, it should come up.
Yes.
Yes, it should come up in some way, some forms. Like, hey, girl,
so yes, yes.
Like as you start, because we're talking about salary, we're in a space where we talk about salary, we talk about rates, we talk about those things. I think this piece, we talk about rap beef. So we're
Politics.
talking, if we go low, we need to go as high as possible and go. But what is your legacy plan? How are you setting up a situation? Because there are I've heard some really amazing stories, and I've always wondered, how did this nonprofit get this house, or have these cars? Catholic Charities tends to get a lot of cars, a lot of homes, a lot of things, or friends have gotten assets that were left to the side based off of experience with the person or their trust, etc. It's a conversation that we can't afford to miss.
100%.
And I think that it may feel uncomfortable. It make you feel like you're going like behind the gate sometimes into another person's, you're in their phone book, you're in their money, you're in their family scenario. If we're truly friends, we're already there. So we're already established in a relationship. And I don't think it's okay for us to, leave any wisdom behind.
We shouldn't.
So I owe it to you. I owe it to Juliana. You owe it to me. You owe it to Juliana. Juliana owes it to you. And Juliana's our producer, girls.
Yes. She's amazing.
Owes it to us. We need to have these conversations and have them at high frequency 100%. And high volume.
100%.
Yeah, because I do think we're missing the idea of what happens next. And we hear so many conversations about generational wealth. We hear conversations about real estate being such a great way, and life insurance. But it's not just a purchase. It's actually... Yeah, it's you got to go beyond the purchase of saying we bought real estate, therefore.
Now what?
It's how we establish the estate that really creates the value.
That's all that counts, honestly.
Okay, Sacha, tell me about your program, because I know that you have, I want to say a program, but you have a package in place, right? That allows for people to kind of opt into your services, learn more about how to set up their systems with your law firm.
Yes. So we do discovery calls where, again, if you're walking into someone's office or you're walking into a law firm or you find someone on Instagram who may or may not be licensed, and it's just like you get one, you get a trust, you. It's probably not what you need because it needs to be catered to you.
Right.
If there's no questions, or they're just basic questions, the who's who, the what's what, and we're not digging, girl, pour you a glass of wine.
Let's
before we get on this call.
Yes.
Then it might not be adequate. And likely it's not adequate. There's a lot of template mills in the legal space right now. And even, actual attorneys kind of get caught up in that, where it's like, are you a real attorney or are you an Instagram attorney? Right? Are you a real attorney, or you just want, the fame or the fortune, and you want it quick, and you're not really helping these people? So, it's important to at least have a conversation with a real attorney who's focused in this area. Like, I oversee all of the trusts that go out of my office, right? My cell phone is a hotline. I have clients all over the world, and you need to know that it's not just plug and play. You just put in your information and it shoots back out a trust, right? This is not the area where we want to do that.
Yeah.
So, all in all, I think that it's important to just be mindful of your actual needs, and more importantly, be mindful of finding someone to work with that cares about your actual needs. So I don't have a package per se. However, again, starter point is always going to be the revocable trust.
Right.
So we always have really good deals or special pricing on the revocable trust. I'll have to give you a special code for your listeners. So yes. So we definitely, that's the starting point. But overall, your plan should be multi-layered and really, get to the heart of what it is you want your legacy to be, and what it is your long-term goals are. So we want to support you now throughout your lifetime, and then also have a really solid plan for what it looks like after.
I love that. I am so inspired. And again, as you were speaking at the conference and you were laying out all of this amazing information, there were not enough pens and paper in the room.
Yes.
Everyone was like, wait, what?
I want everybody to get their pen and paper. And before I started, I'm like, get your pad.
And people were like, okay, wait. She meant it. And to the point it was like, okay, I can't write it all. Let me just videotape it. Let me just let me screenshot. Because there was so much that we have to keep unpacking. We have to continue having this conversation. And in a broader scope, because I do think that even if we got like 50 women to decide off of this episode that they are going to start their trust, we're winning.
That makes my heart happy.
Right. I think if 50 women were like, you know what, today I'm going to make this new choice.
Let's do it.
That would make me so happy to know that those legacies are being fulfilled. And like, that's the ancestors' wildest dream, right?
100%. 100%. I always say I'm literally like, it starts now. We have in-house payment installments. Like, listen, how do we need to make everybody, you need something. Yeah. It can grow with you. We can change it. When you make all the money in your business and you scale and we can meet you there. We can add more details as you go, but kind of start where you're at. Yeah. So 100%.
Okay, so where can they keep up with you and learn more about you and follow you on Instagram?
Yes.
It's super important to keep up because
absolutely,
I just believe like as people give this type of information, you want to make sure you're the first to know.
100%, 100%. So I'll give you all of my info, but I'm Sacha Brackins. That's SachaBrackins on really all platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Okay. Come find me. I'll share my email address. We're all about just each one teach one. Yeah. Really in order to close the wealth gap, it's access to information, it's access to resources. And, we plan to do just that. Mm-hmm. So even if we're not working with you, we still want to make sure that you have the right information. There's a lot of bad information out there. Mm-hmm. So
this is so good. Thank you so much, Sacha.
My pleasure.
Listen, we only want 50 minimum. Let me go 50 minimum. 50 minimum great girlfriends to say today that I am going to make the commitment to start my revocable trust. And in those 50, even if those 50 said, hey, you know what? I'm going to call Sacha, have a discovery call, and start to get the ball rolling. I think that that's a gift that you're giving yourself. You're giving your legacy. You're giving 100%. Our ancestors. And you know that the work that you're putting in today won't die today. Yes. That's the thing. I don't want any of the work that I'm doing. I don't want anything that I consider valuable to die with me. All the 100%. Value should be paid forward.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the goal.
Your
great
business
girlfriends.
Can continue. Your legacy continues.
That's it. That's what we want. And that's how we keep that wealth flowing. So we're wishing you well today, great girlfriends. No matter where you are, I hope you're enjoying time with friends. If you love this episode, please leave your review. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Please do follow Sacha Brackins on Instagram. Go on LinkedIn too. I think it's so important to be like, that's a powerhouse for you. But anyway, make sure that you're keeping up with all things happening around estate planning. And we're wishing you well today. Peace. All right, great girlfriends. Did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends. Follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_greatGFS. I'm Sibylla Muti and I'm out.
Yay Networks.